So, what's good? You're listening to Daniel and Gian Talk Shit. I am Gian.
And I'm Daniel.
And today we have a very special guest, actor, writer extraordinaire, Siaka Massaquoi.
Hello, everyone. Wow, that was probably the best intro that I've ever had in my entire life. Thank you.
That makes me wonder about what you've been through in life.
Not much,
that was
apparently. That was, I got to get out more. Very special. I like that. I like to feel special. My mom always says it, but it's validation.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
You should. You know what? I drive Uber and Lyft, and I picked up Sarah Silverman's dad.
How do you know it was his dad or her dad?
Because he told me, he was not shy about it, and then I looked up his name, and it was him. And then he's like,
first of all, how did he tell you? Because that's like, what are you guys like? Hey, how you doing? I'm Sarah Silverman's dad.
Yeah, it was just like that. No, so I pick him up, and he's like, hey, how's it going? He starts asking me my entire life story.
Waiting for you to ask.
Yeah, where are you from? Where are you born? And I was like, I was born in San Francisco. He's like, oh, you're born in San Francisco? My wife is from San Francisco. I moved to San Francisco. I met her, and I knew I had to have her. And I was like, wow, that could be taken in different ways.
If NBC was recording it and you're running for president, then
that's it. It's over.
And he's like, I live in Florida, but I'm out here because my daughter has me out here because they want to celebrate my 80th birthday. It's this weekend.
He's 80?
Do you know my daughter? Yeah, he's 80. He turned 80 that Saturday. It was like last month. You know my daughter Sarah? And I was like, no, she's a comedian. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever. And then
just fishing for it.
Yeah. No, he was cool about it.
Okay.
I mean, he's a writer. Like, he's had published books. Like, he made his money from, Yeah. The Silvermans did not grow up without. No. Let's not get it twisted.
Yeah.
This conversation go in a different direction.
Real fast.
I completely. It had to do with being special. But the one thing I remember him saying was, he said, you know what? We grew up with 4 daughters and told all of them that they were special and different. And even though it wasn't true, they ended up believing it and doing something with it.
Even though it wasn't true.
Yeah, that's what he said.
That's the best, most honest dad answer I think I've ever heard in my life. Even though it wasn't true.
Yeah. But he was proud, He's proud. They're all successful. Like, he was telling me everything. Like, one of them's a doctor in Israel. The other one's, another
That's
one's
dope.
like so he's like, if you pump up your kid enough, eventually they're gonna, gonna do things.
Which just goes back to like looking at social conditioning. You know what I mean? Go back to that was the pre-show. Sorry, guys. But like, I just look at that and it's like, man, how easily you can program a child from a certain age, between a certain age, in order to believe something so wholeheartedly that I know friends growing up, a lot of like black male friends I grew up with in Evanston, as we got out into the real world, Evanston, Illinois, shout out, as we got out into the real world, it kind of hurt because we were taught that the world, America, was inclusive.
Right.
And I'm talking about real world as in going into the city of Chicago and start working and seeing how segregated Chicago is. As much as they want to tell you something else, it's a pretty segregated city. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's like that stuff. So imagine everything you've been taught up until 18 to a certain extent. All of a sudden, it gets smashed in a space that's like a few blocks away from you. Literally.
And now that's happening even younger with Twitter and social media and whatever else. Like because I feel like I was kind of the same way, as you don't really pay attention to things like that as when you're 10 years old. No. You don't really pay attention to race things or you might hear a big story on the news, but you're not really in it.
Sit with you and your group.
But now it's like, oh, did you hear about so-and-so who got strangled last night by the cops or blah, blah. It's just like, it becomes a topic of conversation when you're 10 years old, as opposed to like when you're an adult and you see it firsthand through experience. So I always wonder about kids growing up now. Obviously, I shouldn't say obviously, but maybe that is the rise of like all of this. Oh, you're bad automatically because you did X, Y, and Z. Because I've seen it 15 times on the this week on a YouTube video or whatever, for cops or
with
something.
Like comments of like, I can't believe, fire everybody. And
exactly.
Yes, or some people need to be.
That's you know what? It's funny you bring that up. I was listening to NPR this weekend, and this guy, he's a black dude in his 40s. And he's in New York. And he watched some viral video about these cops, like these kids were like gonna have a snowball fight, and these white cops come up and they just start fucking with the kids.
Yeah, I think I heard about that.
And the guy says, he pulls out the taser and he says, "You want to ride the lightning?" to one of the kids, and the kids just walk away, like they're not like angry, they're just like whatever, and they're like, the guy's like, "What are you gonna do?" And he's like, "We're out because of you, we're out of here." And then the older guy that was watching the video, he talked about it, and he's like, he didn't understand. And then he talked to a professor in the area, white guy. And he's like, how old are you? And he's like, oh, I'm 43, whatever he was. Yeah. He's like, oh, okay, well, you're too old. And he's like, what do you mean too old? He's like, you don't understand because you weren't here for the stop and frisk era. But all these kids, they saw their parents go through it. So they saw some of their older siblings go through it. So because they grew up with it, they're conditioned to it. And it doesn't bother them the way it bothers you. Yeah. Because they lived it. You didn't live it, so you know
you're offended or something.
Yeah, exactly. And he realized that he's like, this white dude is telling me, but he's got a point, like, because I wasn't there, I didn't,
and that's the stuff that's, again, it goes back to what we talked about. Like, everyone has their point of view, everyone has their experience, and good, bad, or indifferent. It's still just that's my own perception of good, bad, or indifferent. Like, whatever you've been through, I can be like, oh, that was bad, or whatever you did, or that was good. And it's like, when we go like deeper, you say into conditioning, and that's the kind of thing that you're like, oh, what can we do? And like when the cop shootings were going on, and we've seen all those videos, and a lot of people quick to jump up and want to demonize, and a lot of it rightfully so. Some of it, of course, is just anger over history and this, that, and the other. And it's like, the conditioning is, I feel like the conditioning in this country is that white cop kills black kid, right? And that's what you hear over and over. White cop killed black person, over and over, and you see it, and it's plastered everywhere. And that is a very, very honest truth. And like I remember it was like right after Trayvon, the one in
Michael Brown.
Michael Brown, and one of my white friends, I was doing this play, and she was like, "Oh man, I wish I could speak on it, but I'm just a white woman, this, that, and the other." And the thing that sucks about that, because I feel like there's an effort to categorize so much that we lose the fact that human beings are involved first. Fuck black, fuck white, fuck transgender, fuck, gay, straight. Human beings are involved first. And that's the separation that all of a sudden it can be okay to be mad at this person for saying something wrong, but you still own your iPhone that's made by semi-slaves in China. Yeah. Because it's a separate thing. And I go, no, you should speak up, because these are police officers here to serve and protect the community. They get paid tax dollars from every person that pays taxes in this country, not white tax dollars, not black tax dollars, but these are police officers killing citizens. That's it. Yes, it's a predominant group of black people, which has been historically seen as the one day group. One day, hopefully you can figure out one day. And it's like, break it down. The people hired to protect communities are killing citizens and getting away with it. That's it. Mm-hmm. Do you agree with that, Jewish community? Do you agree with that, Asian community? Do you agree with that, white, whatever it is? And if the answer is no, then you can go out there and march with the black community that's standing out there in Oakland, or when it happened in Ohio, or when it happened in Minneapolis. It's like, we want to separate it because, again, the heavy lifting that's real shit, Mm-hmm. Like that's. You got to. It's not easy to take a look at yourself and take a look at some things for the most part that we are complacent in, And I just think it would be a much more peace if we can just be okay with that stuff and be like, all right, we're in Iraq because we want to steal their gold. Okay, all right, go get them. We got enough money in defense, so go get them. You should be able to get away with it pretty easily. Not like we're gonna say it's for freedom because it's a dictator, when you can watch what's going on in Nigeria, where all those little girls get taken away. Where's the fight for freedom there?
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, it is true, because and then just to keep it relevant to what you said in the Middle East, you leave Saddam there. There's no ISIS.
Not at all.
So I mean, it's just
flying drones using PlayStation controllers. So
basically,
just
But I mean, you said something about we're humans at its core, like fuck being black, white, whatever. And I've actually been subscribing to that a lot lately, where if someone asks where I'm from, where's you? And I just say, I'm from Earth. And it sounds fucking stupid. It sounds dumb. It really does sound like, duh, you're from Earth type thing. But it's like, no, we're fucking all human beings. That's it. Like, it doesn't, if aliens come down, or whoever the fuck comes here and looks at us, they probably won't see colors. I mean, they'll see it,
not the way that we do.
Exactly. So
because that's been conditioned.
And then another thing I want to comment on.
Let's clarify. According to YouTube, you are a white guy.
Well, that's what I wanted. That's what I was just about to bring up right now.
Really?
That's serious. Okay, so
I don't know if everyone is seeing this, but this guy looks Latino to me. Is that the proper phrase right now?
Depends on who you ask.
Yeah, very true.
Pick your poison.
But the thing is, so we do some on our YouTube channel. We do like reaction videos and stuff like that, like to music videos, because it's just commenting on culture and other things like that. And the one thing that triggered the most people was we did a video to a reaction to Jay-Z's music video.
Which one?
What's it? Story of OJ.
Okay.
And Jesus.
Of course.
I mean, you don't understand the plight of the black man. I mean, it ranged from that, which is like, okay, I guess that's an argument, to like, you fucking racist ass white crackers, and we weren't even trashing on the video.
We liked the video. Sorry. And the song.
He said, we just like the song.
There's videos we trashed
Kendrick Lamar.
We tracked DNA by Kendrick Lamar.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't like the video. The song. I mean, people love the song. Me, I'm not a Kendrick fan. You know what I mean? Like,
some songs, he's a hit or miss for me. Some of them are like really amazing.
That's like, I feel like it's anybody that's over 30 does not like is like not about that Kendrick life. But if you're like in your 20s, he's God.
I mean, he's the Tupac of this generation, except softer.
Exactly.
Just because that's the nature of our society.
Right.
That's a whole other story.
Right. But yeah, no, this video, we didn't talk shit about it. We liked the song. We thought the video was cool. We were just commenting on what the imagery that we saw. Yeah. And people not having it.
My biggest issue with that is, how can you change anything? And you kind of touched upon this. How can you change anything if I can't have a voice? I don't need to be black to comment on black culture, black problems, whatever, because it's a problem we all face, and we kind of all have to address it together.
Yep.
Because historically, it's like you said, if you don't make a ruckus, nothing gets changed. And the only way it gets changed is when you do convince the white people, you do convince the general population that, you know what, this shit's wrong, this needs to change. But if you segregate yourself and say, you know what, fuck you, we're going to solve it within our own community. Well, clearly that shit doesn't work. I mean, plain and simple, it doesn't.
It's a double-edged sword, because like for, the black community, for example, it's like, there have been efforts done, especially after slavery, where it's like trying to do it in your own community, but then the terrorism that was perpetuated, and people were allowed to get away with some things and destroy. I mean, you saw the movie Rosewood, and you see how
that's a John Singleton movie, right?
Yeah. And there's multiple stories of that.
Right.
When you have laws put in place, like out in Manhattan Beach, used to be predominantly black. And they put laws in there that said black folks can't own homes, so to push them out. So it's like, when you have this, it's a crazy double-edged sword. But this conditioning to think that I've watched, where a lot of my black male friends, have been taught, like through the social conditioning, that like there's only so far you can go in life, but there's definitely as far as you can go in these certain avenues in life, whether it's entertainment, sports. I mean, we know the kind of cliche in that way, but like, you go into Koreatown, you see a whole bunch of banks in Koreatowns that are owned and run by Koreans.
Right.
The terrorism for Koreans has not been the same, and been indoctrinated into the culture that people look over, white folks, and be like, I hope one day that community can work it out, because it's been conditioned for them to see that community as that too. So like, no one, black or white, a lot of times are seen that like, rising up as a group is actually a thing. You look at the strongest communities in this country. You look at the Jewish communities, right? We see exactly how strong that is. You look at the Asian communities, like around the country, extremely strong communities. You even look at like Hispanic communities that have been growing over the last 20 years. And while all of a sudden now it's a vote to be like, what's going on with illegals? No one cared in the 80s when those big businesses, the 70s and 80s, when they were busting them in here. Then they still are. They're still busting in the poor. No one cared there. But now generations are nationalized Americans now, and they speak a whole different language within the country. So you see that community, you see that kind of growth and tightness in there. But the social conditioning, I think, between blacks and whites in this country is that the idea that blacks cannot take care of themselves to a certain extent, I think, bridges the gap on both sides. White folks may think that, and black folks think that. So it always can only go so far. It can only go, you know.
But that doesn't mean you break down communication.
It doesn't. But again, it's all part of that social conditioning.
Let me.
You don't get it. Because you don't get it. Because
I know.
You're white. You're not black. You don't get it, right?
Know.
And white folks say that. Like I said, the story I was saying, the white folk person, I don't think I can speak because I'm white. And you're like, wait.
See, I don't subscribe to that at all because I'm going to keep talking. And I don't give a shit.
She was 40.
And let me make a comment. Let me comment about that too. All right. And that's funny. Like, for whatever reason, certain parts of the country, the black folks and Latinos either get along or they don't for whatever reason.
We're all colored.
Yeah.
But
look at TV. That's the reason.
There's a lot of shit that's in common there. And I feel like one of the biggest reasons why black people and Latino people don't like rise as much as other ethnic groups together is because we're fucking haters. Like the second fucking Joe on the corner's doing good, we're not like, yeah, good for Joe. No, we're talking shit about Joe. Yeah, fucking Joe over here. Fucking Jose's like
with his weak ass truck and blah blah.
Thinks he's all bad now and shit because he got
What you my master now? Yeah. Like what was that? Chris Rock.
And it just turns into one of these things. I feel like it's it's in the community, whereas I don't feel like Asian people don't do that as much. Not only that, but you know, a lot of people, and this is for like all my white friends, and you know, you think that Asian people don't do dirt. You just don't hear about it because they keep it contained and they sweep it under the rug. They deal with that shit on their own. So there's all kinds of there's crime syndicates in all these neighborhoods. There's stores getting getting shakedowns.
Yeah. So the crimes all across the board are equal.
Absolutely.
You know, the wants across the board are equal. You see, here's the thing. Again, it goes back to conditioning. Like, for example, I grew up my whole life really with someone along the way, whether black or white, coming up and being like, "You're black, but you're different," or "You're black, but you're not really black." Both black and white. So there is a conditioning to think a certain thing about a skin tone. Of course, and you know, for Asian, you think certain thing about Asian people, so on and so forth. That is just banged away at us from birth in this country.
I still get that all the time because I don't speak Spanish.
Something's wrong with you.
Yeah, I'm not a real Mexican.
Exactly. What does that mean?
I don't know
what I mean? And it's like that's why people who come from other countries, who really like grew up in other countries, come here are so baffled by, I would say, the sickness that we have about race in this country. That like somebody can look at me, somebody can say something to me like, because I choose to speak the way I do, that I'm talking white. And so that comes from the messaging you get from television and your music, so that the community, as you grow up in a micro level, thinks this is what it means to be a certain culture.
Right.
If you're not fitting that, this certain culture is still at the end of the day at the whim of the majority, regardless of what you want to believe.
Right.
To work in certain avenues around there in this world, there's certain ways you have to present yourself, good, bad, or indifferent, right? My mom grew up in Liberia, educated, like education was a big thing for her. Her and her family, my uncles, my grandfather, all about education. If you look at them, you would think, based on the stereotypes that have been perpetuated here, they were acting white.
Right.
You know what I mean? Hold on. So it's like, being put together is being put together. Having your shit the shit right that's just what it is.
That's what I always say. Just because I am educated doesn't mean that it's a bad thing.
Right. But look at that, because it comes from somewhere. It doesn't come from just within the community. It comes from an overall messaging. You're acting this way in the country that is predominantly this thing, and you're leaning that way, so you're not acting authentic to yourself.
Right.
And so what does that mean then? It means these things that keep pushing up, poor, a disadvantage, believing that you're all those things, believing that you're Mexican first, and you're not who you are first. I'm black first, I'm not who I am first. So my taste buds in food and music has to lean this way, because if it doesn't, then I'm not really, you're not part of the group.
Right.
You're this, but you're different. And you're like, I'm a human being that just like sunflower seeds and chicken Caesar wraps from 7-Eleven. You know what I mean? Like it's so baffling, because as much as we want to say, be you and do whatever you want, it's still like you're still not truly allowing people to be who they want. You just leave them the fuck alone.
Yeah, and I think we've all kind of faced that within our own, communities and stuff. I mean, to be fair to Daniel is you aren't Mexican. What the issue is, however,
Mexican American.
No, but you're not though. That's the thing. Don't get triggered. Let me finish my point before you get triggered. Like, your family has been here so long that the Mexican part of your culture is kind of gone.
It is now, for sure.
But the issue that you should have, and that we all should have, is that you are still not allowed to call yourself just American. You have to put the Mexican in front of the American. Right. When you're just as American as any old white kid that lives down the block.
Right.
You grew up a certain way.
Right.
You know, your family's been here so long. You guys own property here, whatever. You know, they've done all the same steps that every other, like...
Boy, you live in white.
Yeah.
No.
You know what I mean? That it shouldn't be like... You should be able to say I'm American and not have anybody blink twice about it. Right. But you will always get the, oh, but where are your parents from? Oh, but why is your last name's Trujillo though?
And you don't speak Spanish?
Yeah, you know, like,
as I've gotten older, I've gotten less like, it just doesn't. I don't even care anymore. When I was a kid, that stuff. What? Of course I'm Mexican. What do you? Yeah.
Because you're trying to identify. You're trying to feel comfortable.
And then the other way around too. When I was in middle school, I'm American. What do you mean? Just because, you know, I'm brown doesn't mean it's the same thing. But it's just you want to be accepted in the groups. And then as I got older, I right as of this point, like, I don't give a shit.
Right.
That's why I literally will say I'm from Earth. Because then it sounds fucking dumb, but that's the truth.
I mean, that is the truth.
It's the truth.
You know, it's like...
And I'm not saying I'm colorblind or anything like that, because I'm full of my stereotypes. I'm full of, like, you know, I feel like we're all a little racist at heart. Like, we all believe. And you know,
that's where jokes come from. That's why we can laugh and like have but seriously, if you look at it, like, look at some of the best comedians. It's like, it's not necessarily what's wrong with people because of their race. It's just like there's something a little different. Ha ha ha. Okay, move on. You know?
I agree.
Where it's like now anything pointed out that is different in someone else that isn't on a kind of the social justice warriors checklist of good, then it's like you're a bad guy, and it's like, no, that's not true. That's not. And
you judge someone from like one post or one thing.
Yeah.
Now there's certain exceptions to this rule. What's the old lady who who got fired? The Food Network lady or something?
Oh,
dropping N-bombs.
The fat old white lady from the South. Patty Dean. Is it Patty Dean or
the one who wanted to do a slave party for like a wedding?
Paula Dean.
Paula Dean.
Yes.
Like,
man, I miss her so much.
Paula Dean.
All that butter.
she, I could say is probably a little racist, but in a negative way, not in a like.
But you know, it's
but she's like the old lady. She's like the old racist grandma that you kind of give her a pass because that's how she.
But here's the thing about it, because you know we had that incident in Charlottesville, right? And it's over wanting to take down the statue, and both parties came and they yelled at each other, and then we had the guy runs over a group of people, mind you, after the Charlottesville police were told to stand down by the governor or the mayor of the city. So I don't know what that means, but that was the truth that people need to know about. But we have that stuff going on, and just like Paula Dean, just like Bill
Maher, he got flamed recently because he made that house nigga joke.
Well, yeah,
and it was a joke. I mean, literally, it was a joke.
You can't say. I mean, Stephen Colbert, when he made the joke about
the cock holster.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, it's gay, it's homophobic. It's like, no, there's some real homophobic shit you can say. If you really like anything that mentions in that street corner now, or in that avenue, all of a sudden it's like,
if you say cock, you're
homophobic. That's it. If you say it's I mean, we really got to look at our freedom, our what's happening to our freedom of speech here. You know, because it starts out with I'm offended with, and so now you have to worry about what you say around other people just because you may quote unquote offend, even though that may not be where your heart's at. I mean, how do you ask questions if you don't know the answers to? Because you're going to ask a question that you have no idea how that person's going to take it, right? Yeah. Just to ask a question. So then you see how it's a slow build to go from I'm offended, you can't say that, now you can't ask questions, now we're even more, we can't talk. That's not done in the small communities, at the barbershops, at like the family reunions. That's not a decision made there. That's every time you look up in those 24-hour news cycles. When you look up and the TV shows are telling you like, oh, this is offensive in your favorite television show. Now you're like, I can't do this because my favorite show said this. And like, I'm aware that the conditioning was done to me growing up in different shows. I personally, I guess because I'm on the other side of it, I don't feel like it's been as like in your face and heavy, and they weren't, like you were saying, we had MySpace kinda, but we didn't have that before. So it wasn't like everywhere you look, your phone buzzes you.
When Trump says something racist or he says something whatever they want to attribute
that's
to
not
it.
feel comfortable enough.
Exactly.
And it's like, damn, man, I can't even. Like, there are bad things in this world and there are good things in this world, and all you want me to believe is that there's bad things in this world. Like, the fact that we're all here is one of the most beautiful things ever. When you just break down statistics of like,
it breaks my mind.
You know what I mean?
Really,
like,
it really hurts my mind.
Right? The three of us sitting here is a miracle, and that's a beautiful thing.
And that we're recording this shit,
right?
And that people are gonna be able to watch it later.
And it's
forever until their internet decides to not exist anymore.
Yeah, exactly. You know,
so YouTube goes out of business.
Don't go out of business, YouTube.
Please.
We love you. One of the few places where free speech actually exists still.
And even then,
really?
That is not true. That is not true at all.
There's
is this gonna get cut because you just said that, guys? Like,
well, we don't have enough views for it to matter, unless it goes viral, and then there's a possibility. But
no, there's YouTube police, and they'll go around and they have the power. Like, the more videos that they correct, like if they add subtitles to them or whatever, they get points. And the more points you can basically get to the status of like a sheriff, like you're a YouTube sheriff. And if you post a video about, you know, the white supremacists, this and this, and they don't like it, flag.
And this is just random people.
They're putting the power to the people because they want the community to self-regulate.
They're teaching us how to basically snitch on ourselves and report in and get validation, which for reporting in.
North Korea does.
Yep.
But
socialism, right? Wasn't everybody yelling about that in the last election? This is the precursor, people. It's soft right now.
And it's true. Even Mark Zuckerberg's he's talking about how he's planning to completely eliminate hate speech from Facebook.
What does that mean?
That's exactly.
You know what I mean?
Because hate speech is on both sides.
Yeah, it's everywhere. But what does that mean, though? Like it's
how do you get a clear definition of what exactly is hate speech, other than like overt, like blatant stuff?
Like,
you know?
I
fuck
feel
you,
uncomfortable.
I hope you all want to die. Yeah, like that's pretty hateful.
Like what? Like that's a hateful.
But so is I hated Transformers 5.
That's a hit, man. Hey, he makes a lot of money for the industry, dude. That was really hateful. Nope, too late. Too late. You got it here. It's recorded. It's recorded.
I back Michael Bay up all the time. You can ask him.
Except for those 7-foot turtles. What the hell, man?
No, I haven't seen any of the Ninja Turtle movies.
Good, don't. It hurts the heart.
They're not Michael Bay movies to me. If his name's not if it's not directed by, I don't fuck with it.
Okay. Oh, good point. Bad Boys 1 and 2 was amazing. So I mean, we got to look at it like I always say.
The
Rock. That's his best movie.
The Rock.
Armageddon.
Armageddon was
the shit.
Yeah. Armageddon was like, I mean, to be a 15-year-old boy crying at the end of a movie, like, and then having Aerosmith.
Yep.
And don't want to close my eyes. My best friend back home in Evanston from high school, like that is his jam to this day. Like it's like nothing. It's 1 and 2 with whatever else, but that is like if you want to put something on for you and your lady to be like, look, this is how much I love you, girl. I'm willing to die in an asteroid. Look at you on a video feed and cry on the way out. Like, God damn it, asteroid. Bruce Willis at his finest, folks.
Yeah, that might have been one of his last best, his last good roles.
What's it like, Bruce? Yeah, did you see the previews for Death Wish?
No, I like the only thing that interests me about that is it's an Eli Roth movie, but even then
he's playing Charlie Bronson.
He's playing Charles Bronson.
If it's Bruce Willis, I'm okay with that. I heard a remake and I heard it was somebody younger.
No, Bruce Willis.
Okay, that's
Bruce
because Charles Bronson was in his 50s when they shot that first movie.
You know what?
The Eli Roth thing might turn me off a little bit.
A little bit,
yeah.
Because
that means it's going to be violent.
It's going to be violent as hell.
But it's going to be overtly, like perversively violent to the point where I'm like, why?
Maybe, yeah.
When it gets a little excessive for me, I'm like,
because he's got to be an old guy, so it can't be too like stylistic.
And I don't need to see like the chunks of brain matter.
Well, did you see Hobo with the Shotgun?
I did.
Did you like that?
Wait a second, Hobo with the Shotgun.
It was a Grindhouse movie.
Was he just saying yes right away so you get legit and get credit?
No.
He's like,
no, I confused
it
with the Danny Trejo bus movie.
Machete?
Hobo with the Shotgun was with Rutger Hauer, wasn't it? Yeah, I never saw that.
Wait a minute, who Eli Roth did?
No. I forgot the guy's name. I met him. That's the only movie he's done. Well, the connection is he's a hobo with a shotgun, and it's really violent. And he's an older man, and
Rutger Hauer's in there.
Yeah.
By the way, who I thought if he didn't like, I don't know, gain that like I don't care about life weight, you know, that kind of uncomfortable, just heavy. Like, come on, you're not Brando. It should have been Magneto in the X-Men movies. Think about that.
It would have been interesting. I mean, the Hobo with the shotgun was made a few years ago, so
was he a little thinner then? Was he?
Yeah, but he didn't look he didn't look more than Brando big.
Yeah, but you remember there was that time frame. There was like that 40s, 50s where he could have been, Magneto. Anyway, I did a whole thing back in like 1990 with a friend of mine, and we did a list of who should be X-Men back when the internet was fresh and bubbling.
So who was Wolverine to you?
Wolverine was the Native American cat from Predator.
Oh, the guy just died.
The guy, he just died.
I know, I saw that. But think about that for a second. Close your mind's eye and think about him as Wolverine. That would be pretty dope.
We talked about an article on the podcast recently about who was supposed to be Wolverine. I'm completely forgetting.
A new one?
No.
Well, I heard him.
Jackman.
Judgery Scott. He was the bad guy in Mission Impossible 2.
Shit, I don't even know what that is.
Was it?
Yeah.
I swore I thought it was the dude from Roger Rabbit.
Well, Bob
Hoskins?
Yeah.
No.
I'm gonna look it up. Keep talking.
I mean, back in the '90s, when I was reading this comic book magazine called Wizard, they would always.
I love Wizard.
They'd always try to cast the movies, and they were like really pushing Glenn Danzig.
Yeah, they were. Yeah,
he would have fit because he has like
he had
the hair going, and he was short and stocky too.
That was been a good one. I would like even though he's already
Tom
cast,
Hardy would be good.
Dude, I was gonna say even though he's already cast as Venom, it's like you have to go another way. I hate when they double
different
cast.
Universe though. I mean, we got
they're because technically Spider-Man is with Fox, so Fox still has X-Men. So
you're right.
Or Sony, sorry,
Sony. But
you're right
Fox
about the Mission Impossible.
Oh yeah, no, I remember I was in depth on checking
the thing with that though is they have, even though Sony like let them borrow the character, he's not part of the universe that they're making. If they make a movie, it won't be part of the MCU. That's a lot of people's issue with Venom. Is like it's going to be Venom with no Spider-Man in his world, and then it's like, well, what the fuck happened?
Well, there's still conflicting reports about like, is it supposed to be in the MCU? Is it supposed to be? Because I've literally read articles where it said one thing and then another one where it said the other one. So I don't really know because I've honestly heard that Venom is actually going to be Venom is actually going to be a part of the MCU, and then Venom's actually going to be its own Sony spinoff, and like, so I don't really know. I don't.
It's like, how much money does Disney really need? Just come on, work out a deal. It's like it goes with like the pro.
I don't think it's on Disney's side. I think it's on Sony's side. They're the ones that want to fork over the rights.
Yeah, because they like kind of rushed out those Amazing Spider-Man movies so they can hold on to the rights.
Yeah.
So it's like it's definitely a kind of thing because they know there's money there. They just haven't been able to crack the code. That Fantastic Four, all that. I think they want to be bought out, but the numbers just don't make sense.
Yeah. Well, there's like people hate Fox. Talking Fox, a lot of people hated X-Men Apocalypse. I didn't hate it.
I just thought
it wasn't the best one ever, but I enjoyed it. For what it was.
You know what it was, and correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like because the third one, Brett Ratner, was so terrible that once they started revamping it and people got excited for it, everyone had to just not be so bad, but had to also be this like first class great. So it was almost this unfair expectation where a movie just couldn't be like average anymore,
right?
Because third one was so bad.
I didn't think it was that bad.
It was, to me it was like a TV show episode. I didn't know if you had to put money behind it like that. I could have watched it on like FX that day. I'm like, do you see X-Men 3? That was dope. You know what I mean? But the fact that there was a big release and all that stuff happened, and it was just eye candy for comic book nerds like myself.
Well, I'm going to be honest. I didn't even see the original X-Men movies until right before First Class came out.
Oh, good call.
And I'm going to be honest with you. None of them, I mean, I saw it late. So, but like none of them are all that special to me. And I mean, so like, I feel like the hate for X-Men 3, The Last Stand, it's just being, continues like, oh, that's the shitty one. And so people are conditioned to hate that fucking movie.
Yeah, to
just
hate
like
it.
Indiana Jones 4.
That was terrible. Come on, man.
No.
There's no conditioning behind it. He survived a nuclear blast in a fridge. And he's like 80. If that's not the beginning of a bad movie, I don't know.
Let's not go down that rabbit hole because this guy will defend it like till the death.
I'll let you survive. Okay.
But I'm just saying though. Like,
yeah. Like how it was set up.
I think you're right. Where it's the movies were so great. Like I love First Class.
First Class is amazing.
And then the second one, what was the
Days
sequel?
of Future Past.
That was another one.
That was okay,
It
though.
added more to the universe.
story, the universe.
And I appreciated the lengths in which they were trying to like actually try to do something different as opposed to like, oh, there's a formula. Let's just be Marvel and just do the fucking like. I look forward to an X-Men movie more than a DC movie,
Of course.
and maybe more than most Marvel movies right now.
Definitely.
Most.
Definitely.
It depends on like Black Panther. I'll watch over an X-Men movie right now because I want to see it.
Because we've been waiting to see something
Right.
like that, and like it's in the thing is the Marvel movies are like progressing a storyline. So like until you get to Infinity Gauntlet, like you can watch them. You know, you don't have to watch them like tomorrow, like you used to. You know, like you can be like, oh, I watched some in like a few months to make sure because Infinity Gauntlet is like the thing.
I think with the Marvel movies, you have to watch the solo movies, but the ensemble ones are the ones where you're kind of like,
You know what? That's a good point.
because like it started with Age of Ultron. With Age of Ultron, it just started going downhill.
Yeah,
you know,
because they were just trying to progress the story so much that they were just like, all right, let's get. I mean, how do you kill Quicksilver?
right.
How do you kill Quicksilver, man? I don't know. Like you know what I mean?
To
Like,
be honest with you,
he's quick. He's quick. Like he's the DC Marvel's version of the Flash, but he is taken out by bullets.
well, Scarlet Witch should have died too.
Scarlet Witch
Fuck
should have
both
died
of them because
a
they're
long time
both
ago.
worthless. They're both worthless
Yeah, but they needed
characters.
to do that romance between Scarlet Witch and Vision.
Who's gonna get ripped in half?
Yeah.
That's great. That's good to know.
Yeah.
I don't know why I've always thought Vision just had too much power.
Because he's a fake Martian manhunter. That's the thing. Like, but he's not even an alien.
But he's not even like
he's an
real.
android.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's not like he's sentient, I guess. But like he's not I don't know, a humanoid. I guess that's what it is. That the sci-fi.
I mean, there's
version.
things about Vision I like in the movies. Like, I like that they use the Infinity Stone with him.
I didn't because I know he would have to die
Oh,
because he has to. But
he
because that's not the
could die,
history.
though. Yeah.
No, because they got to rip it out of him. He's got to put it at the.
Good, because
Yeah.
there's too many fucking characters.
There's a lot of characters.
It's like a Game of Thrones
not
problem.
enough, man.
You know what I've been? No, wait a minute. Oh my god, I was almost about to let that go. What? You have a problem with Game of Thrones and the characters?
I didn't say that. I said there's too many stories going on.
No, it's all one. No, this is the thing that we like. Again, we go back to conditioning. Everything's connected.
Yeah, but if you don't put the time and effort in each one of those characters, then they're just a bunch of side characters, and you can't make a movie with a bunch of side pieces.
You can't. You're talking about
try.
the MCU. Game of Thrones, yeah.
Game of Thrones is
like I was talking to I went to the Charger game yesterday with my friend. And
Nice.
He'd never seen Game of Thrones, and he's like, "Yeah, I jumped in, I watched an episode," and I was like, "You can't do that."
Yeah, you can't. You got to
He's like,
start from the beginning.
I was like, "You can't. You have to start from episode 1 because if not, there's so much stuff going on. You're gonna be lost, and it's just not gonna be that exciting to you."
You know, it's funny you say that because I was working with this guy on Saturday. He had the same thing about Game of Thrones where he just gets in there every once in a while. But like every time he gets in, happens to be a point where they're explaining everything that's going on. So he's like, "Oh, cool, I get it, I'm out." So remember when the Mountain killed that one dude in the arena when they were fighting and stuff like that, and that whole time the other guy was like leading the way, and then
Prince Oberyn?
yeah, Oberyn,
Oberyn Martell.
yeah, and he was talking about how like the Mountain and his brother raped his sisters and stuff like that.
Well, he only said it like 15 times
Yeah.
before he got his head smashed.
Exactly. So my buddy saw that scene. He was like, "Oh, all right, I know." And then he didn't have to. So he thought he just caught up with like 4 years of Game of Thrones, and he was just so. It was his amount of joy that was inside him because he felt like he was fine with it was so like peaceful. It's kind of like seeing a kid believe in
Even
Santa
though,
Claus.
like in reality, like
He's so
that backstory is like in the books and it's not really touched
Yeah.
upon in the show at all,
all.
until he's introduced.
exactly. But it was a beautiful. I was like, "Oh, you still think magic is real?"
That was season 4, right? I think
That was
season
4, yeah. I
Now,
think it was 3 or 4.
I have to admit though, I didn't watch the show when it first came out.
Me
I didn't
neither.
understand the hype. 3 seasons went by. Season 3 was the Red Wedding, right? Okay, now I avoided all the spoilers. I genuinely did not know anything.
Okay.
But I heard that was the biggest thing of the world and blah, blah,
that's pretty
blah.
big.
So I'm like, you know what? If I can dodge this bullet, I'm probably not going to be able to dodge it later on as it continues to go on. So I
Yeah.
need to start watching it. And I did. And you can ask him, I fucking hated the first 3 seasons.
You hated it.
Hated it.
Whoa.
Because, and I'll explain why, but I got to season 4, and for me, it was finally at the point in which the show actually started to progress towards like a story, and I was actually connected to Jon Snow at the time, because it became more streamlined as opposed to like, let's talk about this house, this family, what's going on here, all this backstory. And so it was episode 4 because the stakes just became simple.
Yeah, I see
A
what
lot
you're
of people
saying.
died. You know, you didn't have to worry about Rob anymore and all this shit. So you could just keep going forward. It was
like,
really,
okay.
it was simplified. It really was. And then going into season 5, I rewatched everything, or season 6, I rewatched everything, and I'm like, fuck, man, these first 3 seasons were great. Like everything was great from the beginning. And so I'm just saying, like, there's a big learning curve to that. So there's a point in which if you start late, you're gonna be fucked because you need to know.
You need to know. You definitely need to know. I think that's actually a great way to do it too. Go back.
You can't over binge it either. That's the other thing. Like if
Yeah.
you binge it too much, you just kind of because it's like how many episodes can you really watch before you just start getting tired?
3 or 4.
You know,
Yeah.
and then 3 or 4 is even. That's like fucking
Christ.
4.
Well, to me,
It's
3
like
or 4.
5 hours, dude.
Yeah.
Well,
Actually, I've done it too, so I'm not gonna judge.
But it's like
apologize.
at the end, towards the end of those last couple of episodes, you start like you're slowly starting to fade.
Yeah.
You're not paying attention as much.
3 or 4.
You're falling asleep. It's just
You know what I
your
did?
eyes hurt.
Because you're like, oh, I'm still trying to kick it in. Actually, what I did was, reason why I didn't start right away was because it was on HBO, and everywhere I lived just didn't have like HBO. So that was probably the biggest thing. But then when I got on it, I was able to
binge
get
multiple seasons.
I was able to get seasons. And
Oh, I'm a butt pirate too. Don't you
well,
don't have to worry
I
about it.
didn't- 2. That means me. What are you doing, man? We're being recorded. He said 2. I don't know what he's talking about. YouTube. Again, I love you. Love your show.
Well, you know what? Since we brought up Game of Thrones and
Game of
went to a
Thrones.
little diatribe, did you watch the episode last night? You caught up?
Not yet. I watch it Mondays. No. I do Mondays.
Okay.
So,
well, then we'll.
by the way, if I had known that this was going to be a topic, which then is my fault because I didn't do my research, I would have watched it before I came over.
it's all good. No, it's fine. We do our own little segment.
Really?
Usually, yeah. We do a recap every week.
A recap.
Yeah. So
Damn
we're
it.
gonna have you included, but never mind.
Damn it! I want to. I can recap about 2 weeks.
I mean, we
ago.
can spoil it for you. We can tell you all about it.
No. That,
You know
if you
what's
didn't
weird?
watch the Spanish, if you didn't watch the Spanish versions that got leaked,
Then you don't really get
Yeah.
it. Well, here's the thing about Game of Thrones now. When you're saying streamline, I thought about that especially last week when like the Magnificent Seven got together, and how like they're like, oh, and these guys want to go, and it's like everyone who you're waiting to see like what their purpose is, and I'm like, okay. Yeah, I've been waiting 7 years. Just go. Just do it now. Dragons kill
Oh, you mean,
everything. White Walkers do stuff.
The season 4 streamlining.
Yeah, like it's like now it's like like they're getting there, and I'm
Well,
like, you
that's
know what?
kind of a
Just do it.
problem, I think, for this latest season.
You think so?
I'm not going to get into spoilers for what happened last night, but like, I think so.
'Cause
We
it's
don't.
missing the gravitas that it had before when you were able to develop it over the
Yeah.
longer season. It feels a bit rushed.
It does. I did get that feeling like when they're doing stuff, but like on the other side, it was just like,
You're caught up as of last week, though, right?
Yes,
So I can
yeah.
talk about things that happened last week.
yes, you can talk
Okay.
about dragons burning people up, and
It's what I feel is missing is there's no build up, and so when the big events happen, you're kind of like, oh man, that was cool, but
like what is it? Like even though we saw her riding the dragon and burning people, it was just like it was just cool. It was more cool to see as opposed to like this was establishing.
Yeah, you're missing the heaviness because you didn't get enough setup.
Yeah.
And we're used to like
Setup.
6 seasons of setup,
Oh wait, so because last night was episode 6, right?
Yeah, this week is the last one. For the
Episode
season.
6 is always gnarly.
It's a good one. You watch it. You'll
I'll probably watch it.
watch
like-
it, and then you can check out our video.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll watch it, check out the video, and I'll comment about how racist and sexist you guys are.
Absolutely.
We don't understand the plight
You
of
don't-
Daenerys Targaryen.
You don't get it.
We just don't
You
get how
don't.
it is to be a Targaryen.
You don't get how
we
it
don't
is to
get
be
it.
a princess who thinks she's a rightful queen.
We've ranted about that actually, like sexism and stuff, like the blatant like in Old Valerian they don't have gender pronouns or whatever, and it's like,
Well, hey, you know what? Because you brought up the whole thing about that, right? About the gender specific.
yeah,
thing.
that's what made me stop basically stop trolling.
Yeah, because people will get like all conditionally butthurt about certain things, and like I think one thing that was really interesting to me, I had 2 experiences. One, I was in the UC. I was at UCLA. Their little that little plaza area, where the movie theater is and everything.
Right.
And I go to this place, and it was like there's a bathroom, and it was the only bathroom you can have. And like, were you there? and it was like it didn't just say restroom. It said like gender equal restroom, something where it was like
Gender inclusive or something.
Yeah, but the whole time I'm
I've seen
looking at
those.
it and I'm like, there's one bathroom here. There's no like, you're making a point only to make a point, or it's a bathroom. Go to the bathroom. You see what I'm saying? Like,
Well, we don't have a male and female restroom in my house, like in anybody's house.
in anyone's house. So, but it's just the fact that it was like
They had to
the
point it out.
Yeah, and so to me, it's like that's like
Although I'm going to make an argument here. Okay, so last week went into a gas station to take a piss, and normally you'd have a male and a female.
yeah.
But now, or at least this particular gas station kind of took that all off. So now they're both family restrooms. That's their way of saying the same thing.
Which I think is fine too.
Which
That's
is
like,
great. Was great for me because one was locked. So like I could just go right in the other one, you know, and I don't have to worry about like, fuck, the guy one's locked. Now I gotta wait.
Yeah.
Now, to be fair, if I gotta go, I don't give a fuck.
I've gone in the women's restroom so many times.
I don't
so
give
clean.
a shit. I don't give a shit at all.
So
Like,
clean. They smell fantastic.
I actually have a buddy who was a custodian at UCLA,
Yeah.
and he says that the women's bathrooms are the most disgusting thing he's ever seen in his life there.
Well, college bathrooms are different. Like I'm talking about like real world, like I'm being judged. College bathrooms are like you got like I'm still drunk. I'm drunk from the night before. Periods all over the place. Like there's a lot of things.
So
going on.
I won't go into full details, but I was at UCLA like maybe 2 months ago, and I went to go use one of the bathrooms, like in the dorms,
Yeah.
like the public, you know, not public, but the floor bathroom.
Okay.
I opened the door, or I knock on the door first, right? Because like it was, I don't know, and then no response. I go to open the door, and I literally see someone on the floor, like literally a girl on the floor, like no bullshit.
Whoa.
And so I immediately like pause, right? And I'm like, oh, and then I realized, oh wait, no, she's on the floor, like because I saw
She's not using the bathroom.
I saw a body, like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. And then I was like, oh wait, and
It's a
so
body.
I didn't open it all the way, and I just said, are you okay? And there was another
he
voice.
doesn't agree with you.
There was another voice, and she's like, yeah, we're okay. And apparently what happened is like, I don't know, something with their family happened, and she was there crying or whatever.
Oh, okay.
And I only bring this
She's
up.
crying so hard that she passed out.
Well, I don't know. I thought she was drunk, like genuinely, like something was happening. But I bring this up to say, like, a lot of things happen in a bathroom that you're just not.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I don't know what that person went through, and she was laying on the floor.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if what they were saying was valid. I didn't open the door all the way. I have no idea what was going on. So, like, a lot of things happen in a college bathroom.
That
A lot
actually,
of things happen in a college bathroom.
oh, a lot of things.
A lot of things I learned.
That actually reminds me of something that happened this Saturday.
Uh-oh.
So I pick up. I'm in like Woodland Hills area. Somebody took me out there, and then I get a call.
You don't normally go to Wooden Hills
No, I try
unless
not
somebody
to.
takes you out there.
Exactly.
Okay.
I just
I
know
get
it's
it.
Calabasas actually.
Oof. I get that then.
And then when you're in the Calabasas area, if you're in the hills anywhere around here in LA,
Yeah.
all the calls are like 10 to 15 minutes away.
Yeah.
Because it's like you're the closest person, and they know that. So I drive up to I'm going up whatever canyon that is to Malibu.
Yeah.
Halfway up, I go through another just set of windy roads up to this little house, and there's these 4 people on the side of the road, and they're all like just stressed out. And they're like, hey, they hand me a phone, and I'm talking to someone, and the guy's like, hey, is this Uber? I was like, yeah. He's like, oh, well, I have someone like very special I need you to bring home to me. Like, keep yourself, please. And I'm like, okay. And I hear the door open and close, and this girl just plops in my car. And we're driving, and she starts telling me how she has no idea where she's at and how she got there. She's like,
Whoa.
And I was like, wait, what? She's like, yeah, I don't know why I'm here. I don't have any friends or family out here. There's no reason for me to be out here. Why am I here right now?
In Southern California.
In Southern California. She lives in Koreatown, and she ended up in Malibu, in the mountains of Malibu somehow, 30 miles away.
Now, for those who are listening who are not familiar with Los Angeles, Koreatown is basically Los Angeles. It's little south of Los Angeles.
It's west of downtown, so it's
Yeah.
almost downtown.
Yeah. It's like right next to
Yeah.
it.
And then Malibu, where he was specifically, was literally in the mountains. You feel like you're in the country. Like,
Yeah.
And it's about 40 minutes away.
45 without traffic,
Yeah.
maybe. Yeah.
From Koreatown.
From Koreatown, yeah.
So like the point is to end up there and not know where you're at is a big, like,
It's
that's
not a couple
big
train
what?
rides.
That doesn't make any sense.
No.
No, it's not like I just went and visited a friend a few miles down the road. It was, yeah.
You went to the country.
So she was tripping out the whole time, and then she's like, and I'm like, okay, did you know these people? I have no idea. I don't know who they are. And I was like, okay. She's like, I woke up and I tried to hide. I was hiding, because I didn't know where I was at, and I was like,
What?
I have to hide. And she kept repeating the same thing over and over again. So she was obviously
She was freaking out.
She was but she was either really drunk or she got drugged.
Yeah,
you know,
she got Cosby.
Yeah, I mean, literally, when Gian called me about it, and I'm like, oh, so she was who roofied her. Like, that was the first thing that came out of my mouth.
Yeah.
Not that I know, like, that's what happens when you get roofied, but, like, you hear about disoriented stuff like that. You know, you're disoriented. You don't know where you're at. And then immediately I'm like, well, shit, you know, what was it? Like, I wonder if she got raped. I mean,
No,
you put one and one together, and it's not even me.
I don't know who I am, who those, or where I'm at, and who those people are. Like, how did I get here? I live in Koreatown. Like, that's some scary stuff.
It was crazy, and I guess the whole time I'm thinking, like, you know, I hate to be victim blaming here, but like, how did you get to that point?
Yeah.
You know, or like, who was with you? You were by yourself, you know? Or then she told me that her roommate was with her, and then she has no idea where her roommate's at. And I was like, okay, so you're with your roommate, and your roommate ditched you at some point, like,
which is not a good,
not cool at all if that's what happened. But
Right.
I mean, it's like, it sucks that we're in a world where if you're a woman, you can't go out for a drink by yourself anymore. You know, you always have to, in the back of your head, you have to like worry about that kind of stuff.
Well, I mean, I think that's been the case for human history.
Yeah.
You know, like there are, I mean, at the end of the day, we forget we're animals, and there are predators and there are prey. And there are some people that, I mean, Ted Kaczynski.
Right.
Well, no, he was a Unabomber.
Unabomber.
Ted Bundy.
Ted Bundy, yeah.
Those damn Teds. Other than Ted Danson, he's a national treasure. No, but it's like, you know, Ted Bundy. It's like he was a predator.
Ted Williams,
baseball
player.
Ed Williams. So we had a couple decent Teds.
Teddy Roosevelt.
Teddy Roosevelt. He was a bad dude, man. I watched. Finish my point because we keep jumping. But you know, you sit there and you have just that's a predator prey thing, and I think one of the detriments to kind of the new age of thinking or a progressive way of thinking to a certain extent is like this idea that individuals have rights to be somewhere. You do, but that doesn't mean that someone else thinks that. And just because you're like, it's my right, you know, and all this stuff means that somebody else is going to stop being an asshole, stop being a predator.
That's not how the world works.
Not at all. Just because you believe you have the right does not mean that you should, you know, like I'm a big believer in like no self-defense. Understand weapons and guns. Understand that stuff. Because just to be like, I'm not violent, I just don't believe in that. Okay, cool. I understand that. But to not know how to handle your own body to protect yourself, because your belief doesn't translate to everything around you all the time. And you want to live your life, you hopefully put yourself in circumstances where you're not waking up not knowing where the hell you are, like you're just saying. But the truth is, you don't know.
No, it's valid.
Why not be prepared if you can be?
My problem with what you just, well, not with what you said, but the people you're basically talking about is, it doesn't just extend to like the pacifists. It extends to gun owners too.
Yeah.
And my problem with gun owners, not all of them, but gun control, whatever. There's arguments back and forth. It works, it doesn't work, whatever. You know, obviously, if you were to but destroy all the guns, there'd be no more gun violence, right? But
there'd be a lot of stabbing violence.
Exactly. That doesn't solve the issue
of violence.
My thing is, in terms of like something that needs to be required, I feel like in order to purchase a gun, it needs to be like kind of like your driver's license.
Take a test.
You have to take a test. You have to have a written test as well as a performance test, so you know how to use the weapons.
Yeah.
Regardless if you know, just once, and maybe you renew it every couple years or whatever, and as you get older, just like the driving test. You know, if you start your vision starts to decline, maybe we won't let you get any more new guns. You can keep the ones you already have. You know what I mean? Because to me, that's the common sense gun law. So the things that people always throw out there about no AR-15 and no this and that. Yeah, but if you don't know how to use your gun, period, it doesn't matter what you have. You need to know how to use it.
Well, you know, they have a lot here, and this is like why I always like ask why, you know, because they have here in California, you know, I would agree to add on like a performance test. That they don't have that, because I got my first like a few months ago, and I had to do a written test, do that stuff, and I had to wait 11 days, and I had to wait 11 days and a second past the time I actually technically purchased the weapon.
Right.
So if I was like 2 seconds earlier, I couldn't get it. So it's like, which is fine. I'm okay with all that, you know. I just remember, again, I go back to messaging. I remember the messaging that I got on guns was only bad guys had them, you know, and it's something to be feared. And there's nothing wrong with a healthy fear of certain things, you know, like motorcycles or skydiving or some healthy fear. You understand it.
Oh, guns scare the shit out of me.
But like an unhealthy fear of it, then I think allows agendas to be pushed that pacify people. I mean, again, we can go back to the black.
Just because I'm afraid of it doesn't mean that there aren't responsible gun owners out there.
But like the message that, you know, it was like, I feel like the message a lot in certain in poorer communities is like either the bad guys have guns or cops have guns, and that's it. And not seeing like the way this whole thing was set up is that you have the right to be able to own something that can protect you to the same level as that you can be attacked with.
Right.
Just the right. That's it. Like, again, you don't have to do it or you don't want to, but like to have the right and to go, it goes back to a lot of things. Like I was saying, like, you know, martial arts, be physically like connected with yourself so that you can protect yourself if need be.
Yeah, and 9.999 times out of 10, those people aren't attacking people on the street randomly or whatever. It's just, you know, in defense or protecting somebody or whatever.
I mean, I'm 32 right now, and I've been doing this ever since. I've been doing martial arts ever since I was 17. So, and then wrestled a little before that. So, like now, especially with mixed martial arts, you see how that's a part of it. It's like I have, outside of like in dojo, like sparring and all that stuff,
right.
I've probably been in one altercation, and it was working in a bar, and I was bar backing, and I just held a guy. So it's not like, you know.
That reminds me of a story that I think I've told on this podcast, but I'll tell it again. It's a high school teacher that I had, one of my favorite teachers.
Nice.
And he was a type of teacher. You've seen Gran Torino?
Yes.
Where it was kind of that old school, slightly racist, but doesn't take shit from anybody. Doesn't matter who you are or how young you are or whatever.
I love it.
Well, he used to be in the CIA and actually at one point, I don't know if he left and then he joined like some like private military type thing.
Wait, they let him work in a high school after that shit?
Yeah.
Well, I guess.
Biology teacher. But he knew his shit. He was a biology teacher, 100% knew his shit. And one of the students challenged him because his name's Mr. Nagel, and he was notorious for, like, if you didn't come in for whatever, he'll call you on it, talk shit to you right to your face, and tell you why that you're probably going to be a fucking failure or whatever. And I loved it.
The tough love type of
100%.
Approach.
I loved it because that's just the teacher, like, you know, that's to me, that was keeping it real.
Yeah.
You know, if you, because he would just say, you know, someone would come in and they weren't there all semester or whatever, just go. Yeah. Just don't even, just
This
leave.
is a beautiful thing. You're like, you know what you're going to get.
You're right. It's just,
by the way, we don't say keep it real enough anymore. Let's get back to
keeping
that.
it real.
Anyway, yeah.
But so someone challenged him, was like, fuck you, Nagel, I'll fucking kick your ass right now. And he started rolling up his sleeve. He's like, let's go, motherfucker. He went right outside the classroom and waited. And, you know, now, of course, the kid has to, you know, otherwise he looks like a little bitch.
So now he's got to go.
And so he went out, and basically what happened is the kid tried to swing on him. And just like you said, he dodged and he just held him up with his big ass fucking gorilla arms. And he just held him there. And he basically, he didn't the guy went unconscious because he couldn't breathe.
Yeah.
And then he just held him there until the campus police came, and then they arrested him and whatever else.
Wow.
But it was a reoccurring thing where he could have easily fucked the guy up, even at, you know, 60 years old. Yeah. You don't just forget CIA training, especially, you know, it's not like he was some fat guy or something. You know, he maintained his body and everything.
That's why
Mayweather. Oh, hold on, sorry, I put your mic down.
And that's why Mayweather's going to beat McGregor, because he's an old guy, but he knows all the tricks.
He's going to beat him because he's doing him at the sport that made him hundreds of millions of dollars.
Agree. Alessandro does not agree.
He's not. He's also. It's like Bill Burr was saying this. It's like having a race between an elephant and a cheetah, and because they both have 4 legs, you're like, well, they're animals, they can run. Like, no, they're in 2 different. It blows my mind. It's if you're gonna watch it because it's like going to a circus.
McGregor's gonna knock out Floyd in the first round. I've called it on the podcast. I'm doing it again.
See,
Yeah, last week we did a whole podcast about.
We may have to do a half a podcast about it right now because, like, my whole thing is like, okay, anybody, if you believe, and this is something where it's like we're losing the understanding of like craftsmanship and what people do.
I respect Floyd 100%.
No, you can respect him, but you don't understand what you're saying. The history of boxing. This guy is probably arguably the best boxer in the history of boxing. History. McGregor's not even the best fighter in the last 10 years in his own sport.
I'm going to interrupt you for a second. I'm going to ask you one question and answer it legitimately. So are you one of the people who you look at this fight and you see it as not a real boxing match, but just completely for the money? No, there's not going to be a fight. It's all bullshit.
I don't know. It's all bullshit. What happens in there when two people are throwing punches? You know, you can never predict.
But do you look at it and say that's not a boxing match? It's a farce.
Yeah, it's a farce. It's like going to a circus. It's like seeing like a lion tamer with the lions. Like, oh, okay, yeah, it's a show, but like again,
what's the difference between that and regular boxing?
Two people who actually dedicate their lives to the sport, so they're actually at the same level. Like,
did you watch the fight this on Saturday? The what's it called?
Oh, Bud.
The
one on ESPN.
Yeah, the undisputed championship fight.
What the hell's his name? Bud. Guy from Nebraska. Boxing? Yeah, it's a guy from Nebraska.
No, I'm not a big into boxing.
Yeah, he just unified the titles. It's the first guy since Bernard Hopkins to unify like all 4 major titles.
Well, I bring that up because the guy he fought was an underdog. I'm not comparing him to Conor. I'm not. I just want to make that clear. But I watched that fight and it was supposed to be a big boxing fight, one of the best boxing fights. Blah blah blah. Man, that fight fucking sucked.
Yeah, that's part of boxing too.
But okay, so all right, so that's and. Thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying that. Yeah. So if boxing's fucking, because you know what, I watched this fight like thinking like, oh, it's gonna be a night, and it's just like, man, this isn't UFC.
No,
like this is fucking boring. So like at the end of the day, I'm starting to literally hate boxing more and more because
welcome to my world.
The craft of boxing is boring.
I'm gonna disagree with you on that, man. I mean, I get it. Like you can't get. There's a lack of parity at times, and there was a lack of parity in this fight.
Oh yeah.
I think he's cleaned out the division. You know, that's actually the guy that Mayweather should fight, and that's like to pass the torch to the next guy.
He won't going to.
If you ask any of the commentators, and as a matter of fact, they were commenting on that, which is why I asked you if you thought it was real, because all of them said it was shitty. Like, this is not real. Well, it's a shit show. It's a circus.
It's also ESPN. That's not their product. They're gonna like.
Well, but what they said though, to finish my point, and then I'll shut up. They're like, Floyd is no longer a boxer. That's what they said. They said he's not a boxer at all. He couldn't fight anybody. This is him just fucking milking it because Conor sucks that badly.
That's definitely ESPN.
They literally said he is no longer a boxer. He cannot be respected. Nobody in the game. I swear to God, you could.
I could see where you would think that, especially if you're a boxing purist.
How could you do that? He's still Floyd Mayweather.
I wouldn't. That's the tough thing about it. It's like you're trying to say. Everything that person has done in the sport doesn't exist now because he's doing it for
because
the same
he's fighting
reason.
Conor.
Well, I don't know if they mean it that way, but I'm saying as of
I swear that's what the dude said.
I mean, as of right now, I could see where they're just saying he's basically a spectacle. Like,
but he's still boxing.
He's a circus sideshow.
Yeah, but he's still boxing.
He's boxing,
and that's the thing. Boxing is much like the American psyche. We keep jumping back. It's like they want to act like the dirt and grime and disgusting shit that makes it possible for boxing to be around for so long doesn't exist. You know, it's like they try to make it the corruption that's in boxing, the fact that the boxers will sit there and lose so much money while they're getting their brains knocked out, and like, you know, the betting, you know, how Don King did his whole thing, fucked everybody, and it's like that is part of boxing. There's the glorious part of like Floyd Mayweather, you know, being a craftsman at it at 40-0 or whatever his record is, I forget, but it's like
49. It'll be 49-1 on August 27th.
Hey, you know, here's the other side of that. Let me tell you the other side of that part, right? This is another reason why it's a goddamn fiasco. Two of the biggest boxers in our generation over the last 10 years fought each other a few years ago. Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather. Floyd waited till Manny was a lot older and wasn't really in his like prime, that Ricky Hatton knockout prime where he had people like reaching for the heavens. He waited for that, and if you remember, I don't know if you watched it, but
of course I did. It was fucking terrible.
Yeah, we watched the sparring match, and they both walked away with over $100 million.
Yeah.
So when you come down to what is the incentive, and McGregor has never lied about what his incentive is. And Floyd has never lied about what his incentive is. It's about making money. So why would I really want to put myself at risk? And we watch two people who were boxers and still in the game go out there and play with us. So now I'm going to go out there and two people who are flying on the same private jet everywhere. You see those pictures. They're they're getting off that private jet like, and now I'm going to believe that when they're sitting across a desk in front of all these people, what you're saying is real. You guys are sharing a private jet.
I don't know. I think it's twofold. I mean, because you can't, not you, but people can't dismiss it because it is something that was generated by the fans.
Yeah.
It's going to be the biggest pay-per-view boxing event ever, bar none.
Yeah, for sure.
But
that doesn't mean it's the best or close to the best but
it's something that people want.
Yeah.
And so you can't, because you have some boxing analysts who that's their, you can't dismiss it.
Well, it depends on what you're going in there for.
I think it's also getting carried by MMA fans. Like the fans that don't really know much about boxing are they're going to be buying it more than anyone
But let me
else.
put it, okay, let's put it to movies. Okay. It's like a Denzel Washington movie. Most people are going to stand right behind Denzel. Doesn't matter what he's doing as long as he's in it. Okay, so they're going to push that forward, that narrative forward. But if Man on Fire, if you like action movies and Tony Scott, you're going to get more than one thing, and you're going to get Denzel. So it's kind of like the same thing. And I just look at Conor and I see him never once, like you said, he's 100% real all the time. I'm here for the money. Why the fuck am I going to fight in UFC if I can do this? You know what I mean?
$100 million.
That doesn't mean, I don't think that means he's going to show up on the night of and just be like, all right, let's spar. No, I think Conor's going to go for it. Now, whether or not that's enough to beat Floyd, that's what we're going to see. But
he has got more to gain if he actually wins.
Right.
I see what you're saying. When Manny and Floyd did that fight, they both were on the top of the world. They had nothing to gain.
I think
other
Manny's
than
getting sued
rights.
right now, actually.
Well, he's getting sued by fans
because he had an injured
shoulder injury. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't think anybody's going to win that lawsuit.
But at the same time, you can't really fault Manny either because it's like, okay, what do I do? Do I back out and postpone it and then not have this $100 million payday?
No, I don't fault them for that. Again, it goes back to what is, don't try to tell me is this big thing and it's like two worlds colliding when one person whose whole career has been based off of using his whole body gets limited to doing what another person has made hundreds of millions. Floyd Mayweather, Vegas casinos borrow money from him. That's how much money he's made boxing. That's how, there's something to be said. It's like me, I can't go out there no matter how big I get in entertainment. I can't go out there and take on Michael Jordan because Michael Jordan's the greatest basketball player to ever live. I'm athletic.
Well, let me ask you this.
And I can probably play something great in movies or film, but and again, spectacle part of it, go ahead. But don't try the narratives that you're trying to tell me is oh my God, this thing could be. And I'm
so if Conor wins, are you going to accept it or are you going to say, well, Floyd's old? I'm
going to accept it. Well, he is old. That is a fact.
But I'm just saying,
that's a fact.
But are you?
I won't accept it as if they fought. If they're 33 and 35. But the fact is, the guy's been out of boxing for 2 years, and he's 40.
But he's the great. You just got through saying he's the greatest.
He is. But he's 40 years old and been out for 2 years. That doesn't. I mean, these things matter.
You can't outrun Father Time.
Exactly. Those things matter. A guy who is arguably at the prime of his fighting career, let alone these are things that are there. It's again part of why I'm because look at the the ups and downs of this thing. Manny versus Floyd was this is what people have been waiting for. Two of the greatest at the time coming together, even though it was past their time. It's oh my goodness, this thing is
boxing in general.
Yeah,
I mean, look at Triple G and Canelo. They're still young, but
Canelo's 26, man.
Well, I'm saying, but they're not they weren't the age of Floyd and Manny. But I'm just saying, Triple G's still 35. It's still not them fighting at their prime.
Yeah.
And so it's just I don't know. I don't see the big.
When it comes to boxing and stuff, though, it's unlike other sports. I mean, I guess it's all sports. He doesn't have the mileage on him that other fighters had at that age.
Which is very true. Because he wasn't getting hit.
He you're referring to? Floyd?
No, I'm talking Triple G too. Triple G doesn't have the mileage on him that other. He's only fought 30 some odd times. It's the other guys they hit 29. They've already had 60 fights.
Well, what do you want him to be Sugar Ray and have 200 fights?
No.
You mean Sugar Ray Robinson?
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying that.
I'm
saying that you can't nowadays.
I'm trying to understand.
You can't automatically say, okay, he's 35. He's already slowing down when he hasn't had the same kind of build up.
Well,
Like
can't you
breakdown.
make that argument for Floyd?
No,
since he doesn't have any damage.
Floyd's got a lot of rounds on his body. He's been fighting amateur since he was like
Not a lot of
fucking
damage,
7 years
though.
old. No, not a lot
of
of
head damage.
Not a damage, but he's 40. There's stuff like if you look at his last fights, Floyd's not the same guy that he was when he fought Oscar De La Hoya.
Well, here's the thing: he's 40, and just statistically, scientifically, your body just does everything at 40 that it did at 30.
I think the sales.
Except if you're Evander Holyfield.
The sales. You mean George Foreman?
I did that. I did that last.
Yeah. That's all.
Yeah, you were prepped for this one and everything.
That's also a little. That's also a little different too. Like George, the heavyweights.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, the bigger guys can last longer because they're so much bigger. You know, the
Got a lot
smaller
of
guys, they don't rely on.
That's what the ladies tell me all the time.
Notice there? They're also 6'3".
Yeah, they don't rely on quickness. They don't rely on quickness and speed as much as the lower guys do.
Me either.
So, but let's we did a whole hour and a half on this fight. So let's let me tell. So the reason why I invited you in the first place was because you posted on Facebook about the whole Colin Kaepernick situation.
Oh yeah, that was a troll.
After Jay, was it?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Did you see my final thought on it?
No, because I you know with Facebook lately, I stopped getting after like a certain amount of comments. I stopped getting notifications.
Really?
Yeah.
Freedom of speech, everyone.
Yeah, that's I think
because it probably didn't click to the things you click and like enough for them to go. You should know about it.
I think Zuck the cuck. You know, he's
Good thing I have good spit control because I would have ruined at least the microphone board. Yeah.
He's filtering out stuff, but no. Well, let's talk about that though. Like how so if that was a troll, so how do you really feel about that whole situation? Because I have a strong opinion about it.
This is what is he trying to find a nipple? I know they do that no matter if it's male or female. No, I know. My godson's doing the same thing. I'd hold him sometimes when he was like that small, and all of a sudden he'd be like that's my peck. No, it's like so. My final thing is that like we go back to perspective, right? Everyone has perspective because when I put it up, I'm like my thing was like, how could an interception machine like Jay Cutler, a turnover machine is what I said, like Jay Cutler, be on a team where Colin Kaepernick still doesn't have a job, right? And like basically what I got was most of my friends of color was like race had to do with it, and most of like the white guys, I mean, we're all of color, sorry, but like most of the guys who were predominantly white all had numbers to pop up there, right?
Right.
Oh, little man. Oh, there it is. There it is. So that was the difference that I saw, right? And then of course then it gets heated because like if one didn't agree with that thing and then it's because that, and I've seen a lot of the back and forth of like, well, just because I'm not saying it this way, it's numbers. He was 1-11, and I was like, I personally was like, oh, I didn't know that. So I finally my final thought was like, hey, it could be both sides, guys. Because at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with, because of those numbers, it could be race that makes it easy to go like, all right, you know what I mean? Like if he threw for 3,500 yards, like 30 touchdowns and 4 interceptions, it would be a lot easier for these teams to look past it.
Exactly.
And so like let's not. And so my point was like trying to put it up there was going like because to see how people got really in there, it's like it can be everything and see how it is. It's not just one answer for anything. And this is just a fun thing. I did also, people like Berto mentioned, he goes, well, you know, Jay played with Ryan Geist, the head coach of the Dolphins. And I knew that, you know, I knew like that's, of course it makes sense that like that's an easy fix, right?
I mean, there's other things too. Kaepernick's been seen multiple times wearing a Fidel Castro shirt, and Miami Cubans don't play that shit.
Well, no, but I was saying how do you get a job, period. I wasn't talking about with Miami.
Oh,
I was talking about just because at the time they were talking about him possibly being a backup over at Baltimore. Yeah. And I was like, oh, that makes sense.
You know why he didn't get the job in Baltimore?
No.
Because his girlfriend went and called the owner of Baltimore a slave owner when they were in the talks for contracts.
I mean, all the NFL owners are slave owners, but let's.
They go judge, young, athletic.
I mean, that's fine, but what I'm saying is like the talks happened, and immediately she started firing shots at the dude in Baltimore.
And then, but
it's like now you're trying to like now on a human level, you're gonna try to force this guy to sign your dude,
and then berate him if he doesn't.
Yeah,
and then to be fair,
that's my biggest issue with this whole the boycott thing that people are proposing. Like it's boycott. Like you're. I mean, you're not gonna do it one.
No,
maybe you'll miss the first game or two. You know, you ain't gonna last the whole season.
If you're not gonna boycott because they tried to cover up a player like left hooking his girlfriend into the banister of an elevator in Vegas, you're really going to boycott because a guy who took a knee is not going to get a job?
I agree with that.
Let's be real.
That's why, like a few years ago, for baseball, for 1 second, Aroldis Chapman, who like got in a fight with his wife or his girlfriend or something, and shot the ground or something, like allegedly, whatever.
Dude, Joe Mixon from Oklahoma, who's on video as well, socking some chick at a bar, got drafted in the 3rd round. Would have been a 1st-round pick had that video not come out. Still got drafted in the first 2 rounds. He's probably going to be the starting running back for Cincinnati Bengals this year. There's so many stories like that.
It's a talent trumps everything.
It does.
Well,
Tyreek Hill, he's a 2nd-year player with Kansas City. He got kicked off of Oklahoma State's team because he threw his pregnant girlfriend down a fucking flight of stairs.
Sure,
Jesus
I'm
Christ.
not saying that. I'm just saying, as a fan, when the Dodgers were talking about trading for Aroldis, I'm like, man, fuck that shit right there. You better bring him over here, because at the end of the day, I'm not going to stop watching baseball because of it.
Yeah.
And then what I was going to say is the owners have no obligation to sign anybody
At all.
And that's what, at the end of the day, to me, that's the true bottom line. It's a business.
It's a business.
And if you look bad to them publicity wise, well, fuck you. If you can't play well, fuck you. If you're both of those things, fuck you.
Double fuck you.
I mean, it's just like,
And I've tried to put it out there, too, that once the season gets going, and we're in like the 3rd or 4th week, Kaepernick's going to get signed.
Yeah, somebody's going to go down there and
get
like, fuck it.
Right now, like a
and-
month and a half before the season starts, when the media is there all the fucking time,
Yeah.
none of these guys want to deal with that shitstorm that's going to
Yeah.
come on with it. Because the second you like acquiesce to the for better lack of terms, to the black fans protesting, saying that they're going to boycott, then you're going to get the white fans back in who were complaining about them last season, who said there. So you can't win.
Don't do it that way.
You don't win on either side. You
No.
know? And you hedge your bets and like expect these people to be bullshitting, because most of them are just co-signing on a Facebook post.
Just because they want to be, again, they don't want to do the heavy lifting, but they want to feel like they're a part of it.
Exactly.
And like I think the heavy lifting is what we went back to, talking to each other. People don't really want to do that. They want to be mad and then state there how mad and frustrated and offended they are.
they want to be on a team. They want to be a part of a cause.
At the same time, then, kind of berate anyone who
Isn't on their team.
isn't on their team or likes to be a part of a team. What are you talking about?
Because where was the outrage? And obviously the players sucked, but that gay player who was like
Michael Sams?
yeah, I mean, he didn't get drafted because he wasn't gay. He did not get drafted because he sucked.
Yeah. Well, he just wasn't top notch. And you see, even look at that.
But there was no outrage on that. There was no, but let's boycott the NFL.
But look at that. It's like the story leading up to the draft was this whole big thing that like kind of made it seem like it was not saying it's not important, because anybody who can just feel more inclusive, it's like cool, that's great.
If you can play football, I don't give
There
a
you go.
fuck.
But like what I felt like they tried to make us believe about him being the first openly gay athlete,
Was that America's changed?
that America should be changing, and then let's look at the reason why. Then if people don't accept this, it's because of all these reasons. And like you saw what happened. It kind of just fizzled out because he wasn't that good at the end of the day. And people forget that, like, I think it's what we're like laws should be put in place so discrimination isn't there and all this, that, and the other. But like people don't really give a shit like that. People are too selfish. We're too selfish to really like truly care unless pumped up, hyped up about something. Maybe you add like most of those people that are doing the violence, like that kid that shot up the church. After he prayed with them, the kid who ran over the people in Charlottesville, and like just even those people like that. It's like if you really look at a lot of these young men, it's like we got nothing to do. You look at Chicago. I say this all the time. I say it in my posts and say this. It's like Rahm Emanuel 3 years ago shut down 50 schools in the South Side in Chicago, which is now known as the most violent area in the country. So you have all these boys, these teenage boys and young men in this area now being shot and killed, but yet people don't connect because the state is hemorrhaging money and probably going to go default on debt, and the city of Chicago is broke because the last 5 governors have been gone to prison because of bribery or some type of like shitty ass action in office.
The mayors or the governors?
The governors. But it's all Chicago's like kind of the main hub for the city of Illinois.
Really?
Yeah, and it's like a lot of things really kind of run through that. So if the mayor of Chicago, you kind of control everything. But the governors have been kicked out because of these ethics charges. So you sit there and you look at that, and I go, okay, well, what else do you expect to happen when you put a bunch of young kids? Look at Greece. You got a bunch of young men that have nothing to do, and they're running around burning shit up. rightfully so, because they're being kind of getting a short end of the stick of European Union type of stuff. But it's like, of course the violence goes up in that side of Chicago. When you shut 50 schools down and you put the burden on people who resource alone, whether it's rely on the government or not, is tightened, where majority of jobs that were created in the last 5 years have been part-time jobs. So, and then go, hey, you can go. We'll give you vouchers. You can go up to the better schools 40 minutes away.
Exactly.
So you set up the scene, and then everyone goes, oh, poor. Hopefully that neighborhood one day can figure it out. Like,
or
what?
they say, how is it like this? How did it happen?
Yeah,
what happened? Why is there so much violence?
I'll tell you this.
It's a cultural thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll tell you like this. I was talking to a white friend of mine in Chicago, like right after the school closings, and I was just like, hey man, so what do you think about your boy Rom? Just kind of set it out there. I didn't even say specifically what it was. His statement was, well, he's there to make the tough decisions. I was like, okay. I go, okay, and left it at that. And this friend of mine, girl that grew up in the area I grew up, North Shore, Chicago, like things are nice, really nice up there. Most of the Cub fans are up in the North Shore. Right. The White Sox fans are the workers in South Side. But like then when you add on, he says that, and then like 2 years later, the report comes out where I read a report about how it was last August. It was like the higher, like LA, or it was like Chicago has the highest murder rate than LA and New York combined.
Yep.
And I sent him that thing. I was like, what do you think of this? He's like, man, it sucks. I don't know what like the community can do in order to fix those things. And I'm like, wow. And this is not a person that is backwards in whatever the perception of like an ignorant individual that doesn't get it or doesn't know. My man, like, he started like a real estate program to help out, underprivileged, black youth in order to learn about this stuff of his own. Like he's always somebody that gives back.
Right.
But then you see how easily it's manipulated to think it's two separate issues. No school, you shut down schools, no opportunity. What they tell you, who joins gangs? Kids that have nothing to do, right? Then on the other side, you come over later and you see that violence, and you go, oh, I hope that community can figure it out. But it was tough decisions a year ago.
Right.
But I hope they can do it here. But see how it's separated and how it's conditionally separated for us to think that they're two separate things. So we continue to go, oh, that community, blacks, they just can't figure it out.
Well, it's the same thing with, it's just, well,
I don't know. Too many handouts.
Yeah.
Way too many handouts. We're just helping them too much.
We're helping them too much. They can't help themselves.
Exactly. And then slavery was 400 years ago. I don't see why, that's because to me, I relate it to this because it's this whole separate thing, but it's really the same shit that's been going on since then.
I love how it always gets bigger.
Yeah.
Slavery was 8,000 years ago.
Yeah.
It wasn't 150 years ago.
Let's
forget about fucking sharecropping.
It goes both. It's funny. It goes both ways because either it gets longer and then also it gets longer on both ends.
Yeah.
Be like, we've been slaves for 5,000 years. You're like, wait, what? Because Egypt is in Africa. You know what I mean? Like, there's black folks down there.
But it's the same thing where
funny,
and I feel like that's, not responsible for Trump, but a part of it where it's like white people or the conservatives who voted for him, they feel threatened because it's like, no matter what we do, we get shit rammed down our throat. Well, and that's equally, that's 100% valid. I think.
You know what's interesting, especially I had I was fortunate. I've been fortunate enough to one of my jobs that has me travel. Like a lot of people that I work with are Republicans.
Right.
And didn't really know. I mean, you can assume because of the area that they live in and people live in, but it's like, you don't know until you talk to people. And then have these conversations with people who grew up like that. My best friend to this day grew up in Nebraska. He's been Republican his whole life. I mean, Republican in the sense of he grew up like that, but like, we live in California, like we see a lot of different things. So it's like our perspective goes back to, I think, the human element more than anything else as opposed to party lines because it's bullshit, And so I got to see them and talk to them, and like there's this sense of like, but that's not why I'm doing this. That's not why I'm voting that way. Like that's not fair. Like give me a second to speak for myself, and yet never really asked.
Right.
Never really asked. The election as it was going on, again they have both sides, and I would see some some of my colleagues that were from like Chicago area say some like venomous things for Republicans and people who support Trump. And I'm like, do you know some people that kind of give you the job that you work for, that love you and look out for you? They support him. So like what are you saying there? Like that's an interpersonal like relationship that you're just glossing over because you want to, because again, you're triggered.
It's a slippery slope.
MSNBC, oh, this is it. So you got to be, and it's like you forget or you disconnect with the fact that people that you work with, that care about you, that we laugh, we eat dinner with, that they aren't those people then? Or are they those people?
It's tough. It's, you know what, when it comes to that stuff, you got to think, I don't know, like I question that sometimes myself, like, how did you bring yourself to vote for the guy? Just because like if we're just going by facts and logic, it just doesn't seem like, you know, not saying that Hillary Clinton was a good candidate, but like the fact that we're so locked into this two-party system where you can't, you know, it's either red team or blue team. There's no gray team, you know, and people can't.
It's so ridiculous.
And how do you justify? Like I was like really hoping, because I read an article that if Utah voted in this Mormon candidate as an independent, they would have fucked up the entire electoral college.
Yeah.
And I was really hoping that the Mormons in Utah would come out, and because everything Trump says is like against the whole, like most of the stuff he said is like really abrasive for the Mormons, you know.
Well, you know, here's
still voted for him.
I think it was a perfect storm. I think it was a perfect storm of like disenfranchisement by, you know, different groups in the party, parties. One of the biggest ones that gets me is like Bernie Sanders was like a huge example of what's really happening up in the system. You know, when those emails leaked, that like a lot of people wanted to gloss over. Let's even go back to Obama in 2008. A lot of Hillary Clinton supporters would say to me, it's her turn. So there was an idea that this was this person's term regardless. A lot of old guard. And we see how the system works in the sense of like you put in your time, you're supposed to get. Whether you earned it or not, you put in your time. This is what everyone does. It's too early.
It's like a very union mentality.
You're right. You know, it's like, well, you know, just wait. And, you know, Democrats, a huge union side. It's like, wait for it, then you'll get it. It's her time. It's her time. So it didn't matter. It really didn't come off as like, is this the right person for the position? But the people were like, no, it's his time, because it's what we believe for all the different reasons you can put in there. So fast forward now, and you know, I know people who work behind the scenes at the DNC, you know, conventions, who were like, "Oh yeah, no, we have to look for people, artists that support her, because that's who the nomination's going to, regardless." And this was before the summer, so this is before Bernie went on an 11-state win streak. They're already saying this, and so why are you already saying this if people have a voice? But you're already telling people who are putting together, you know, this event, like, "Oh yeah, no, this is what we have. This is happening already." And you're like, okay,
well, that's another reason why Trump was able to be Trump.
You know what I mean? Because
unlike Bernie, Trump was just no fucks given.
Right.
And that was at the right time. People wanted to hear that because they were like,
I can't even ask the question anymore.
We just had Obama. We just had Bush. Where's our voice? You know, because you have 8 years of a black president, whether or not people want to acknowledge it or not, in the conservative base, that's kind of an issue.
What made it an issue? I think it was made an issue. I think that like,
well, yeah, because they immediately when Obama, race is, you know, we're living a post-racial era of America.
Can you believe that? Yeah, can you believe that was even out there?
That was a thing.
And you know,
he's like ushering in a new era. Like what?
You know who the first television network that did like a panel on the post-racial America was? CNN.
I can believe it.
So it's like, I don't buy anything those motherfuckers talk, but not just CNN, but any of those fools, because again, you're saying like the people on YouTube where they get like marks and checks, and I figured this out a while ago. Like, people are working careers to move up and advance in their career, not necessarily to do the right thing or do whatever they say the right thing is. So they're going to do whatever is going to help their career move forward.
And the news should be boring.
It should be extremely boring. It should be extremely boring, but it's not. And they set it up like that. So when you look at like, I remember watching, I was waiting. I was like, man, 11 states in a row, and they barely talked about it on the news when Bernie won those 11 states, like sweeping fools, right? Then the emails come out, and I'm like, okay, so you guys, it didn't matter what happened. this is what it was going to be.
Right.
So there's a thing there where, at least from my position, I'm just like, fuck y'all. Nope. I was like, I'm done. Because it didn't matter. Regardless, if you even if you're telling me this thing is going to usher in the end of the world, to me, my belief is, as a free society, I have the right. My voice should be a voice, and it shouldn't be quieted because a group of people in some room say, well, this person's turn, man, woman, black, white, or whatever. And so for me, I was like, all right, I'm done with this.
Well, the biggest thing about what you just said is the fact that the news media controls all that.
All of it.
It should just be free access. Okay, Trump, you get 20 minutes today. Bernie, you get 20 minutes today. Hillary, you get 20 minutes today.
And that's it. But it's not that. I mean, you have, after the second term, and you had Obama having private dinners with the staff from MSNBC. I was like, what? I'm like I don't care, because it really frustrated me, because it's like, it feels good when it's your side, and that's what people need to be careful about. Because if your journalism or your journalists are able to be compromised like that, where they're having private dinners with the president, as cool as he may be or it might be, there's nothing. There's
an
no
integrity that needs to be withheld.
Exactly. So to me, you're already compromised. Yeah. You're already compromised, and I can't because what you're telling me. Because even if every single thing that person does is beautiful and he's doing it, he's a great person, all that stuff. Yeah, let that be coming from like a space of neutrality. Don't let that be because that's your homeboy now. Because you're gonna talk about your friend so much better than you're gonna talk about an enemy, right? And to see them do that and treat it's like
when Breitbart does it about Trump, the left are like, oh my god,
can you believe it? And that's the thing. Like if you watch, because ever since I was 10 years old, back in the day, I've been a big fan of politics because as I've watched it, because it's this mix between they tell you, at least what I was taught was kind of part think with your heart, but then at the same time it's like you've seen every decision, most major decisions made with the head, financial decisions, but they use emotional things for the average person in order to get you to believe what they really want you to believe.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that really blows my mind. And I sat there, and as I'm watching these two sides go at it, I'm like, I remember as soon as Trump came out, and they're like, oh, by June, the news, multiple channels were like, he should be out by June. Ha, 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 ha. And I'm like, who the fuck are you guys? No support towards him at all, but how are you already making this claim? You don't know shit, or do you know shit? Now I'm going, whoa. And then as it happened, watching the news media fucking not know how to fucking deal with this person
on both sides too.
It was beautiful,
not just on the liberal left. It was both sides.
Both sides didn't know what to do. It was kind of interesting because I saw people, especially because Republicans are good at this. They're good at following the line. You know what I mean? This is our candidate. This is what we're doing. You look at Bush. You look at Mitt Romney to McCain and so on and so forth. That's who we're going for. And that's it. I've never seen dissension in the Republican ranks ever once the candidate's decided, or the guy who's in the lead. It's always kind of oh, it's cool. In the candidates would fight amongst themselves, but to see this stuff lose their mind over this, I was like, this is awesome. I was like, this is fun to watch because the first debate 2 years ago, I was in North Carolina for the National Black Theater Fest, and I'm watching the debate, the Republican debate, and they were trying to hammer him on donating money to Hillary Clinton, her campaign for senator in New York. And well, how come, why, right? And it's the debate where Megyn Kelly, when he was you're bleeding from everywhere, everyone's like, oh my God, I can't believe you said that. They lost their mind on that, right? But as they're trying to hammer him about this, he got to a point where he's like, look, he goes, I donate money to politicians. That's how you get things done. He goes, everyone on the stage, how many people here I didn't donate to? Raise your hand. Everyone raised their hand except for Rand Paul. And everyone in the audience was just kind of it was that thing, again, that no one wants to talk about, that money runs it all of it.
Absolutely.
And no one wants to talk about that. And he brought it out, and you had these guys who were you had your Paul Ryan, or not Paul Ryan, who's the guy from Florida?
Marco Rubio.
You had him being and trying to, hey baby, and trying to do that. And it's oh, okay. You want to come out and do buzzwords, I think Republicans should be pissed off about their people in the Senate for not having anything to replace Obamacare, because that was the talking point for the last 4 years. Now it's like, okay, go ahead and make the sandwich. I don't know how to put mayo on. That's what you've been telling me for the last 4 years. So are you truly on that side? Or are you playing a game for something else?
Are you just trying to get reelected?
Yeah, or you're playing a game for something else or something else. Reelection is like a part of it, but it's something else. Like,
what could it be?
Money, power. That's it.
That's reelection, though.
Yeah, but it only comes around every few years.
But that's just furthering your cause. That's you putting in your hours, like you said, to get what you're entitled to, quote unquote.
It's the same people doing the same shit over and over again. It's the same cycle of people. Yep. It's all concentrated. We're meant to think. We're told that it's not, and that anyone has a chance to go out and win it. But it's not. It stays with. It's just a thing that
you could be the best person in the world, but you're fat and ugly. You ain't going to be the president of the United States.
You got no money. You got no money. Yeah. There's no way in hell. I mean. You talk about the money that was raised in these last elections and hitting the billions. I mean,
it's only going to get worse.
You look. Of course it is. You look at Flint, Michigan, for example, right? Hillary Clinton went over there, made a big stink and a speech about it, and they raised all this money and they gave less than 1% back to the city. She took that back to either her campaign or DNC. So what are you telling me? You know what I'm saying? You're telling me that emotionally I should be outraged, but if I look behind your true actions and seeing what your money and all that stuff's going, you really don't give a shit. And that doesn't. And I think that we would free ourselves if we get away from like me because I'm a sex or I'm a race, because that doesn't matter.
Nope, not at all.
They still make that. They still make these decisions. They will be able to affect situations like, you know, close 50 schools over there, and somebody would be like tough decisions, and a year later be like, I hope they can get out of there, because historically we're used to seeing a certain group in that space and it feels comfortable at the end of the day. People just feel comfortable, like, oh, we know what that is, we know what this is. But if you go look, Citizens United should be seen as a blueprint for what this whole thing's about. They told you straight up, a business has the same rights as a person. And if you see businesses like Trump's business try to get them on about bankruptcy, if you incorporate yourself right now and you go through hard times, you can use the government just like these rich motherfuckers do when their business start to fail and claim bankruptcy and help yourself out. It's in the books. It's there. We can do that too. It's out there for us to do it. But they want to yell at us and say, you need to be affected emotionally on a heritage thing or a sex thing or I feel uncomfortable thing, while they sit there and they make the rules. You know who makes the rules for Wall Street? 3 Republicans and 3 Democrats who can then invest in the same fucking place that they're making the rules about. If that doesn't tell you this whole thing, it has nothing to do with all the things that they want you to be emotionally affected about, I don't know what does. It's like it blows my mind. And you know, I look up, I'm like, well, where's Russia right now on CNN? Before Charlottesville, that's majority of the.
They look for. I mean, that's it's distractions. Right now, everything's about distractions, and that's it. Yeah. But yeah, man, I think we should wrap this up.
Oh,
yeah,
we'll wrap it up. Right. The wrap it up box.
Yeah, wrap it up. Let's see. Awesome. You want to plug yourself? You got a Twitter or Instagram?
Well, Instagram. Check me out. Siaka _Massaquoi. You can find me on Facebook. I'm always saying stuff to hopefully make you think. Other than that, I don't really care that much, in the sense of like, come on, guys.
And we'll post it all up on the descriptions and stuff.
Yeah, it should be fun stuff. Siaka Massaquoi at Twitter as well. Yeah, out there hustling and bustling. Check out, I got 2 new commercials coming out soon.
Nice.
Bank of America, Comcast. Nice. Also got a film that I shot in Liberia earlier this year.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I shot a movie, which my family's Liberian. I'm a first generation American, and so the movie was about the history of the country, and I got to play a character from the 1800s that was an indigenous person who falls in love with one of the settlers who formed the slaves from this country. So I technically could be playing an ancestor. And my major scene was in a church that my grandfather used to be a preacher at, which is the first church of Liberia named after the island. It's crazy. And it's nuts. So that's coming out end of the year.
What's that called?
It's called Providence Island.
Okay.
Check it out. It's starring Vivica Fox is in it, Lisa Wu. Roger Bob is director, producer. He worked directly with Tyler Perry for a lot of his projects over the years and was his main producer. Now this is one of his first films out of his new production company. Written by Dr. Clarice Kula, who's a Liberian as well. We were able to go back and do like a whole, I taught acting for some of the people that came to our workshop. Yeah, it was a really amazing experience to be a part of, and got me more into wanting to get my voice out there to just help and just get people just to think, and ask questions.
Absolutely.
Come up with your own, own thoughts on things, not something that somebody programmed you to think.
Right.
And the world's your oyster, really. Yeah. So that's kind of what I'm doing, all about, and just trying to remind each other we're all here, man, trying to just be happy.
Yeah.
I'm
with you. All right, and you guys know the drill. We are on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, as well as this YouTube video that you may or may not be watching. Check out some of our other podcasts as well, and leave us feedback. We always love to talk with you guys, so let us know. We'll see you guys next time.
Later, guys. A lot of fun.